Past 8 now here on Kiwi. Time to talk politics. We do it with Russell Norman, co-leader of the Green Party. How you doing there, Russell?
I'm good. And if that didn't wake up your viewers, then they probably need to take the day off.
I'm with you on that one. And let's look at the issue this morning that's just breaking around education. The Education Minister, Hikia Parata, has just told a breakfast audience this morning that more money will be spent on initiatives in education over the next 4 years. It includes more money for early childhood education, professional development of teachers and recruitment of teachers. But the government says there will be an increase in teacher-pupil ratios as a result. Have you heard that this morning, and what are your thoughts?
I haven't heard it. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're going to get better educational outcomes by having larger classes. I mean, I just think that that's a bit unrealistic.
They're saying the teacher-student ratio is to be standardised at one teacher for every 27.5 students for years 2 to 10.
Yeah, which I guess means some bigger classes and some smaller classes, if that's the average.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is teachers, is what they say over and over again is that the bigger the class, the harder it is to spend time with the kids that need it. So it's hard to see how that will help get better educational outcomes.
They're also saying performance pay for teachers to be introduced as part of a new government appraisal system. Now, I think teachers were resisting that, weren't they?
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's just wrong to think that that's how you're going to get the best performance out of teachers. Because teachers don't do it because they think, oh, I'll get a bit of extra cash if my kids get a bit higher result in this score or whatever in this test. Actually teachers do things because they're motivated by the learning outcomes and by helping kids. So I just think they kind of think, well, what we all care about is money, and we're just into money, and money is what we care about. And everyone else is like that too. But some people actually care about their jobs and what they do there and like to help kids.
Yeah. It seems to be that for this budget coming up, everything the government is doing, they are pulling something or tweaking something somewhere else in order to make something else happen.
Yeah, well, it's a function of the zero budget. I mean, they're shuffling money around within the existing budget.
You asked Bill English about this the other day, didn't you? About this, the old switcheroo, as you call it, of the tax system that was done, and Bill was saying that it was that it, in fact, it zeroed, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if you remember in the 2010 budget, they changed the tax system and they called it a tax switch. And what they said was that we're going to cut taxes on high income earners, and the quid pro quo was that we're going to increase GST on everyone else. So basically, in order to pay for the tax cut for high income earners, everyone else had to pay more in GST. And he said, "Oh, but don't worry, it'll be fiscally neutral." Because obviously, giving away lots of taxes at a critical moment like that when the budget was in so much trouble would obviously be completely reckless and irresponsible. But it turns out that he was completely wrong, and in the first 18 months of the tax switcheroo, the government had to borrow $2 billion to pay for the tax cuts for upper income earners. So it's and when we asked him about it, because originally we went to him and we asked for him to give us the estimates because he made the claims of tax neutrality, so he said, well, how much has it ended up costing? Was it tax neutral? And he told us in answers that it couldn't be done to make that calculation. But then later on now they're saying that actually it can be done and they're sure it's neutral.
On the back of an envelope it can be done every time.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've got the whole of Treasury to figure this stuff out, and they did make the claim that it would be fiscally neutral. So it seems only reasonable that we should be able to check up on whether what the government says is true or whether they told big fibs about it.
Have you got one eye on Greece at the moment and the situation over there in Europe and the one currency, and how do you think things are going to play out there, and how will it affect New Zealand?
Well, I mean, at the moment, what it means is the instability in Europe is making it, relatively cheap to borrow money for other countries that are seen as relatively safe. And so it's good for New Zealand at the moment, but it won't last. The Greek situation part of it shows why it's important to maintain control of the government books. So giving away huge tax cuts to upper income earners and then borrowing the money to pay for it looks particularly irresponsible because of when you look at what happened in Greece. So, obviously the Greek situation is going to affect us, but it's not obviously going to affect us like something happening in Australia where...
It seems in some ways, though, that it may affect us positively in one respect if our currency drops, right?
Yeah, but it's a bit uncertain what will happen. But yeah, if our currency drops, that'd be great because the tradable sectors have been struggling with the high currency, so it would be good.
Because the government hasn't intervened there at all yet, have they?
No, not that we're aware. Sometimes the Reserve Bank does intervene and only tells you later that they've been selling New Zealand dollars, but we're not aware of any intervention.
Like if the high dollar was to continue on for another 6 months, would you expect the government to intervene? Would you, if you were in government, intervene?
Well, we would. I mean, when you look at the New Zealand economy, we've been running these large current account deficits. Part of that has been running these trade deficits. And the tradable sector, the bit that has to compete with either imports or sends goods overseas to export, they've been having a real trouble with the exchange rate. And if that carries on, then we just have to borrow to cover the difference. So actually it's very, I think it's essential that we try to have a lower currency. And other countries are intervening to achieve that.
Hey, Russell Norman, thanks very much for your time.
Cheers, mate.
Co-leader of the Greens.